We usually picture wealth as this exclusive VIP club, right? Something completely reserved for the ultra-lucky, the wildly talented, or people who just inherited a massive family fortune. But what if I told you the ticket to get in is actually sitting in your checking account right this very second? Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into how everyday people are building extraordinary wealth using the exact resources they already have. We're going to look at the hard data and the actual psychological habits that prove you really don't need a golden ticket to reach financial freedom. So let's just imagine for a second you're earning a perfectly normal average salary. Let's call it around $60,000 a year. You're working a regular job, commuting, buying groceries, paying your rent or your mortgage every month, just going about your life. There are absolutely no lottery winnings on the horizon for you. You're not going to miraculously time some massive crypto surge. You're not inheriting a sprawling real estate empire, and you definitely don't have a billion-dollar tech startup idea hiding in your back pocket. You are just a completely ordinary person making an ordinary living and dealing with ordinary expenses. Now, you really got to ask yourself, can this regular, everyday salary actually turn you into a millionaire by the time you retire? I mean, it sounds almost impossible when you first hear it, right? Most of us feel like we're barely keeping our heads above water as it is, let alone building a massive fortune. But here's the crazy part. History, and literally decades of financial data, have already answered this question with a massive, resounding yes. Thousands upon thousands of everyday people have done exactly that. So how are they actually pulling this off? Well, to understand that, we need to tackle part one, the millionaire salary myth. We are so totally conditioned by culture, movies, and social media to assume that millionaires are exclusively high-powered lawyers, celebrity doctors, or tech entrepreneurs raking in hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. But let's look at the reality of how wealth is actually built, because it has way more to do with your daily financial habits than the actual size of your paycheck. On one hand, say you have someone making $250,000 a year. They're driving a luxury European car, living in a massive house, but they're spending almost every single dollar they earn just to maintain that image. On the other hand, you have an average earner making $65,000 who consistently saves and invests a portion of their income. The truth? That high earner might look incredibly rich to their neighbors, but they aren't building any lasting wealth. They're just passing money through their hands. That disciplined average earner, however, will easily blow past them over time. Which brings us to part two, the secret engine, compound interest. This right here is the real mathematical magic behind the ordinary path to wealth. Compound interest is the absolute core of how average salaries transform into massive portfolios. And honestly, it is arguably one of the most powerful financial forces on the planet. The crucial thing to understand is that you aren't just earning money on your initial savings. Your money is actively working to make more money on the growth itself. Think of it exactly like a snowball rolling down a really long hill. At first, you're just packing a tiny handful of snow together. Barely looks like anything. But as you push it down that hill, it picks up more snow. Soon, that new snow is picking up even more snow, and the growth just goes exponential. Eventually, that tiny snowball is a massive boulder rolling entirely on its own momentum. You're literally putting your dollars to work for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Let's look at a hypothetical earner. We'll call her Sarah. She earns $65,000 a year, and her strategy is incredibly boring, which, by the way, is exactly why it works. She doesn't panic and chase hot, volatile stocks. She doesn't try to predict market crashes by pulling her money in and out. Nope. She simply sets up an automated $800 monthly investment into a broadly diversified, low-cost stock market index fund, and then she completely leaves it alone. Assuming an average annual return of around 10%, which actually tracks really closely with the historical performance of the broader market, she is just stepping back and letting time do the heavy lifting over a 30-year period. No flashy moves, just relentless consistency. And over those 30 years, something truly incredible happens. Think about how her total wealth actually breaks down. That tiny piece of the pie, that represents her actual principal contributions. The literal dollars she physically moved from her checking account into her investments. But that massive, overwhelming portion taking up almost the entire thing, that is entirely compound growth. She didn't become wealthy overnight, and she didn't become wealthy by finding some magical stock. She got wealthy because her money kept earning returns, and then those returns earned returns, doing all the hard work for her while she was just out living her ordinary life. Thanks entirely to that undeniable engine of compound interest, Sarah's incredibly normal salary quietly grows into well over $1.5 million. Let that sink in, $1.5 million. And remember, she never once needed a six-figure salary to achieve this. No inheritance, no lottery win. She just needed consistency, a solid plan, and the patience to let the decades work their absolute magic. But, of course, there's a catch. Let's get into part 3, the villain, lifestyle inflation. It really begs the question, right? If the formula for wealth is really just simple, consistent investing over time, why was true financial freedom so incredibly rare? Why aren't we absolutely surrounded by millionaire teachers, millionaire plumbers, and millionaire accountants? Well, if compound interest is the engine of wealth, lifestyle inflation is the heavy iron anchor dragging you straight to the bottom. The answer to why so few actually make it lies deeply in human psychology and how we naturally react to getting more money. We crave instant gratification, and man, we love to show off our success to everyone else. Here is exactly how the trap gets sprung on well-meaning people every single day. Say you finally get that hard-earned raise at work. Awesome, right? That should be a phenomenal milestone. But instantly, you feel like you deserve a reward. So you upgrade your entire lifestyle. You trade in your perfectly fine car for a newer, flashier one with a way higher monthly payment. You move into a slightly larger home or apartment because, hey, you've earned the extra space. You buy the newest smartphone, you add 3 more streaming subscriptions because why not? And you book much flashier vacations. Before you even consciously realize what just happened, every single extra dollar from that raise is completely spoken for. You are making significantly more money, sure, but you are trapped in the exact same paycheck to paycheck cycle you were in years ago. So while a massive new flat-screen TV or a shiny, brand-new luxury vehicle creates this very powerful illusion of being rich, your actual financial future hasn't improved even a little bit. In fact, things like luxury cars are depreciating assets. That means they go down in value the second you buy them, effectively acting as a massive anchor on your wealth-building potential. These people might look incredibly wealthy to everyone driving past them on the street, but behind the scenes, one missed paycheck would literally mean disaster. They never gave their money the chance to compound because they continuously fed their lifestyle instead of their investments. This brings us to part 4, the millionaire mindset. To defeat the totally natural urge of lifestyle inflation, you have to adopt what we call the millionaire mindset. This is the fundamental psychological difference between the people who actually become wealthy and the people who just play the part. It is a complete and total shift in your daily priorities. Self-made millionaires, who, by the way, are overwhelmingly your local teachers, engineers, or military personnel, understand that keeping wealth means living a surprisingly ordinary life. They practice what we call stealth wealth. They aren't walking around completely decked out in designer logos. They don't feel that burning, anxious need to impress strangers with expensive purchases. They drive perfectly reliable, slightly older cars instead of rolling expensive luxury vehicles right off the dealership lot. They avoid unnecessary consumer debt like the plague. And most importantly, they make investing their absolute priority before they spend a single dime on their wants. This simple mindset shift creates an enormous difference over the course of a lifetime. The consumer mindset gets a holiday bonus and immediately asks, okay, what can I buy with this money right now? Should I get a new watch, a designer bag? The investor mindset gets that exact same bonus and asks a fundamentally different question. What could this money become over the next 20 years if I invest it? It is a radical, game-changing difference in how you view the utility of every single dollar that passes through your hands. What could this money become if I invested? Seriously, when you start asking this specific question every single time you get a raise, a bonus, or a tax refund, you instantly strip lifestyle inflation of its power over you. It's like the ultimate antidote. You start seeing money not just as a tool for fleeting, immediate consumption, but as a seed that can be heavily planted right now to grow your ultimate future freedom. Let's move to part 5, your wealth strategy. Let's pull all of this source material together into a straightforward strategy you can apply starting with your very next paycheck. You do not need a finance degree to execute this, okay? You just need to follow a few core unbreakable principles. These 4 simple steps are the precise, actionable roadmap to replicating Sarah's success. First, aggressively defend against lifestyle inflation. Always spend less than you earn, especially when your income increases. Second, automate your investments. Set it up with your bank so the money leaves your checking account and enters your investment account before you even wake up on payday. If you don't see it, you literally can't spend it. Third, do not panic when the stock market inevitably dips. Temporary declines are completely normal, and staying invested is the only way to capture the eventual recovery. And finally, be incredibly patient. Wealth is not a lottery ticket. It's built through thousands of small, remarkably consistent decisions repeated over decades. The most empowering takeaway from this entire explainer is that the power to change your financial destiny is entirely in your hands. You don't need unbelievable luck, you don't need insider knowledge of Wall Street, and you definitely don't need perfect market timing. You simply need the discipline to control your spending, the consistency to invest every single month, and the time to let your money multiply. Every single year you delay means compound interest has less time to work its exponential magic. But every year you stay invested, holding off on that urge to artificially inflate your lifestyle, that brings you one giant leap closer to true, lasting financial freedom. So I'm going to leave you with this final provocative thought. The math is undeniably proven and the path forward is incredibly clear. Will you take action right now, delaying instant gratification today so that your future self can enjoy true, unshakable financial freedom? The choice is entirely up to you. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I really hope this deeply changes how you look at your very next paycheck.